Hi, I'm Maggie. Welcome to Experiments in Crafting. And Happy New Year. Uh, Hopefully, you guys all had a good end of your year and beginning to this year. Um, I had a relatively quiet year. I think it's kind of, or end of the year. I think it's been kind of kind of that way all around. There's not a whole lot of traveling or anything that you're really allowed to do. So, it's been kind of nice. Got to just relax towards the end of the year and the just getting back to work and getting things started for the year. So I've got a couple of projects to share tonight, and then really it's just kind of an open talk. So I'd like to hear what you guys have been working on, what projects you've finished up for Christmas, and what you've been working on since Christmas or since the new year, and what you plan to get done this year. So this is the time of year when things like temperature blankets come, out of the woodwork again. You never really hear about temperature blankets in like October and like hear about people's progress. Everyone always starts them in January, and I think they have a tendency to fizzle out about March. So, though I have seen many completed ones, so not to say that they don't get done, but you hear about them a lot right around now. So, I guess that. So, you guys have seen this doll that I've made. This is the Danielle pattern from Carmen Rent. So, this is one of the first, like, dolls that I've made. I've made some other amigurumi. I guess I've made other dolls, but this one wasn't a character. So I worked from this pattern, and I really liked it. But I wanted to try a couple different ones, and so this pattern called for a fabric dress, and so I just freehanded the exterior, and she's got yarn hair. And so I tried a pattern with some different things going on. So this is the Elin pattern from Carla Viglucci, and you can see the dolls turned out pretty similar. That's partially intentional. I use the same yarn for the skin tone. I use the same size eyes, and I actually added ears to the Elin pattern. It didn't call for them, so I added the ears off of this pattern. But the big thing is I did crocheted hair this time. So I crocheted the hair, and then actually I really wanted to give the doll these little purple tips on the hair. And so I went ahead and did that, and it was not super easy. I think worth it. I think it turned out pretty cool. I'll turn it around so you can see what the back looks like. The only thing I haven't finished is the back of this doll's shirt, but you can see all the little purple ends to the curls here. But basically what you do on the crocheted hair is you chain all the way out. And then when I got to this point, I switched colors on the chain, chained some more of the purple, and then did all my half double crochets all the way back to here, and then just switched colors back. And so I was able to crochet over the top of the purple yarn and just hide it. And so I didn't have any tails to sew in. And so my goal here was to make this as non-painful as possible. And so the color changes were a little bit of a pain, but at least I didn't have tails on every single piece of hair. I just crocheted over the ends. And then when you get back to the top, you start a new chain, you slip stitch and you start a new chain all the way out. And so this doll has 2 layers of hair. It has a center like part section here. And then there's a whole round section underneath. And then I did crochet. I didn't add hair to this one, but I just crocheted this like bald man's patch back here. Because you can see like when I have the doll and you can't see her hair, she just looks horseshoe bald. So you've got the hair coming around the back side and just poking in. But when the hair falls down, it is pretty necessary on the back side, though, to have that hair right there. Even when the curls are laying there, you end up with, like, just bare head. And so to fill that in, I just put that patch basically back there. And the curls are a little bit unruly. And if I wanted to, I could take all of her hair and lay it out and pin it straight so that she had straight hair. But I kind of like the little curls that form when you just let single crochet, well, it's half double crochet. When you just let half double crochet do what it wants. This doll pattern called for having the bottoms of the feet be socks. And so I did that, and I didn't really think about what I wanted to do, and so I just started with the pink socks like the pattern called for, and then I gave her purple hair, and I wish I had given her, I don't know, different color socks. Maybe pink would be fine, but more of like a deep magenta rather than like baby pink. So I just gave her black boots. And I made the shirt the same color as the hair. I might change that. It's not set in stone, but the shirt needs buttons on the back. There's little button loops back here, and it really just needs buttons to hold it in place. I think it'll look a lot better if it's snug on her. So there is my doll, and again, this is the Elin pattern from Carla Vigolucci. And so that is one of the things I got finished. The one thing you will notice, though, is that I did crochet completely around the floral wire. And so this doll cannot stand up on her own, but can sort of support her weight. So it doesn't take much to get her to stand up. She looks a little bit better in the doll frame than I think the other doll does, or in the doll stand. So she doesn't really need as much support, and she looks a little bit more even. Both of her feet touch the plate here, where this doll's kind of hanging, and that's intentional. Like, I could lower her, but then she kind of crumples. So she's got to, like, hang just where her feet touch so that she looks normal. But this doll's pattern's a little bit taller. I'm not actually sure that it is taller if she didn't have, like, a skeleton. So she's got that wire frame that I think is, like, stretching and holding her out. I think this doll could be just as tall. The one thing that I really did like about this pattern is you work each of the feet up to about here, and then you join them, and then the rest of the doll is one piece all the way up. So the whole torso, you add in, you have to crochet the arms separate, but then you add the arms into the top, and you crochet, I can take her shirt off here so you can see what I'm talking about. But, so anyway, oops, lost a shoe. The legs go up to here. You get a little bit of the white. You switch to the white. And then the whole torso, you add the arms in, and then crochet the neck. And then you expand out for the head and come all the way back in for the head. And so the vast majority of the doll, one doesn't really have any sewing, which is nice because I'm not a big fan of sewing amigurumi pieces in place. And two is relatively, like, easy and clean to, like, put together. So it's just the two legs and the two arms, and then pretty much one piece up through there. Like I said, I added the ears because I think the ears are cute. And then the hair was brutal, but still pretty fun. So, and then you've got all the doll clothing pieces and stuff. So, like I said, the dolls are pretty much the same they look very similar, but they are constructed quite differently. Um, in this style, the head was completely separate, and you have to sew it onto the body. The arms get sewn onto the body. It's more of a rag doll style. If I took the doll completely apart, or not apart, but like if I undressed her, you'd see that she's more of a rag doll style than a like structured all one piece kind of doll like this one is. Um, so anyway, so that's what I've worked on, and I really kind of wanted just to go into the next doll. And I don't really have a reason or a plan for like a next doll. I just wanted to start making another one. And I sort of switched course and went ahead and made a teddy bear instead. Just kind of pause for a second to think about what I really want out of a doll. So this is the teddy bear I'm working on. And it's called Edward Bear, and I don't remember who the pattern designer is. I can look and report back next time. But this is the bear pattern that I'm working on. It's a pretty cool pattern. So it's actually worked, the magic circle is underneath the nose, and you expand in an oval, and then increase very selectively to kind of get this dented eye shape, and then this part like rounds out, and then eventually it rounds out completely. You start working just in sort of a normal sphere shape, and then do your decreases, and the decreases end on the back of the bear's head. And so you can see there's the round part of the back of the bear's head is where the decreases. And I really made it a point to stuff this quite well, and it's pretty firm. I set, so the pattern called for stitching French knot eyes. I wanted to do safety eyes, and so I put pretty big safety eyes in. And then they looked really good, but I wanted to bring them together a little bit more. And so what I did was sew back and forth. So taking the needle and basically, as I was going, coming up through here, moving the needle, and then going across and coming out this side right there, and then going back in. And I went all the way around the eye, going back and forth between the eyes. So there's a bunch of stitches in the middle of this head, like webbing together like this. And then pulled them tight and just really like pulled those eye sockets in a little bit. And I think it looks really cute like that. And then I've got the ears done. And so I can show you where those go. I've not sewn them on yet. Again, I'm not a big fan of sewing, and so I pin them on and then just hang out till the end. So the ears go roughly there, and that is the start of my teddy bear. So I'm pretty happy with how that's turning out. I did make a small stuffed sort of character, and I actually stuffed it with roving this time instead of using fiberfill. So I used wool roving because it was made out of black yarn, and I really liked how that turned out. It was very, very firm. I was able to pack it really well, and the wool kind of like holds itself, like kind of holds a structure a little bit more. The wool fibers interact a little bit. And so anyway, I stuffed it full of wool, and I was able to use pretty dark wool, and it doesn't show through in the holes. And so I considered doing that with this bear as well. But it's going to need a lot of stuffing, and I didn't necessarily want to use all of my roving for stuffing stuffed animals. And so I just went ahead and used the fiberfill. The other thing is I have a lot of fiberfill. I bought a 5-pound box, and I don't know if you can picture what 5 pounds of fiberfill looks like, but the box is, I don't know, 2 feet tall by 3 feet wide by 2 feet deep. Like, it's pretty substantial. I actually got it on an Amazon warehouse deal for a really good price. Uh, Pretty close to the cost of one package from like Joann Fabric. I want to say like $22, $23, something like that. So it was a really good deal, but now I have 5 pounds of fiber cluster fill um, that I probably ought to use. So I filled this bear pretty firmly. And then I've got the torso portion in progress. And so right now it's just sort of a cup because that's all I've gotten done. That'll come up and then it just needs arms and legs. I did find an app while I was searching around for kind of a way to help me keep track of things. There's an app on at least the iTunes App Store or whatever Apple App Store, or I don't even know what they call it anymore. Um, anyway, I found this app. It's called My Row Counter. It's a free app. It's $2.99 if you want it with no ads, and then it's got a bunch of premium features that are expensive. It's like $1.99 a month or $14.99 a year. And I did not pay $14.99. I did pay the $3 to get rid of the ads. So, because they were annoying me. But so I paid the $3 to get rid of the ads, and the app seems really cool. I don't know how many of you have iPhones versus Android, and I don't know if there's an Android equivalent. I didn't look on the Android App Store, the Google Play Store. But I did find this on the iTunes or Apple App Store. And anyway, the app is cool because it will let you link to your Ravelry account and download your patterns to your phone and then keep them in the app. I have a bad habit of downloading patterns from the browser. So I just go to Google Chrome, I download them from Ravelry, they go into the downloads folder, never to be seen again, because I only half remember how to access the download folder on any regular basis. Yeah, that looks like the app that I got. So it looks like it is available for, yep, it looks like it's available in the Google Play Store, or the Google Play Store. My husband just pulled it up. So it's called My Row Counter. I thought it was pretty cool. But like I said, all it does is it lets you download your Ravelry patterns onto your phone, keep them in the app, and then it has a timer, so you can time how long it's taking you to do a project. People have asked me, right before Christmas, I showed you guys that dragon, and probably 6 people have asked me, how long did that take you? I don't know. It took me a couple of weeks, but I don't know how much of a week I worked on it, and it kind of depended on what I was doing, like any particular weekend. And it's a perfectly reasonable question. I just don't have an answer for it. And so it has a timer, but the bigger thing is it has this row counter, and it's not such a big deal to remember, oh, I was, roughly here in the pattern, like working on the bear's torso. But I don't know what row I'm on. And so I could probably count my rows, but I've been using the row counter so that, like, when I put my project away for the night, I know that the row count is right. And then when I pull it back out the next day, I can just open the app and I'm like, okay, I was on row 18. I'm supposed to be doing this, and just move on. It also holds my space in the pattern. So, like, when I click the pattern button, it takes me to the spot I was at when I close the app, which is really just a, like, super nice feature. It doesn't have to do that. It could take you to the beginning of the PDF every single time. And instead, it's just really nice that it holds your spot. So there's a bunch of premium features. Like I said, you can do all sorts of stuff. They felt expensive to me. I probably would have paid a couple more dollars to unlock, like, more row counters and more features. I'm not gonna pay a $15 a year subscription. That feels a little expensive. If I run into it seeming worth it, then I'll let you guys know. If I think that the premium feature, like if I end up deciding I want to give the premium features a try and I think they're worth it, I'll let you know. It's probably worth $2 to find out, I guess, but $15 felt a little steep, but $3 to get rid of the ads was definitely worth it. Especially because the row counter is right at the top, and then there's a little banner ad right above it, and like every time I felt like I was having to be very precise not to click the little banner ad. So anyway, like I said, it's called My Row Counter. It looks like it's available on both Android and the App Store. I have no affiliation with it. I just found it and thought it was cool. And so let me know if you think it's cool. Like I said, it's available free or for a couple of bucks to get rid of the ads. And it basically just lets you have your Ravelry patterns real quick and keep a row count. So I will say one of the premium features is annotation. So like if you want to make like highlights or comments on your patterns, that was one of the premium features, and it didn't seem important to me, but might be important for others. Let's see, couple comments. Jane asked, how is the red anime style doll coming along? We did a whole bunch more embroidery around Christmas, but we didn't work on the doll right away. So she's still hanging out over here. I did some more work, and I don't know if I really showed it off, but I added the little armbands here. She has some like neck detailing up here. And then these like sort of, I don't know, fingerless gloves. Got dust in my eye. So I did sew in all of the ends, and I finished some of the extra detailing. So really the only thing left is her facial features. And that's really about it. The other thing is she's got to be tied to the doll stand because she just keeps like not staying upright enough. I have some new doll stands coming in. I found a craft supply store that had pretty good prices. These ones are really nice and shockingly expensive from Amazon. They're like $11 or $12 a piece. And while they're nice, there's like almost $40 in stands here, or $30 in stands here. Which, I don't know, felt a little expensive. Especially because I wanted to order 3 more. And so I found a wholesaler type of place, and I ordered a handful of them. They're $5 a piece, which felt a little more reasonable. So of course I ordered twice as many. So I have a couple more kinds coming, and I'll see how they go. But I've got a kind that holds around the waist and will be shorter, but for this height doll. And then I have some that are coming for like an American Girl doll like size. So a little bit taller. And those, none of them are designed to go around their necks like this. This is actually an American Girl doll height one. Just around the neck. So, anyway, that doll is still in limbo. She needs a couple of eyes. The big thing here is, so the work we did around Christmas was we used commercial patterns. So there's like a thing called EMB library, which is embroidery library, and you can go on and like pick embroidery patterns and download them, purchase them, and just load them into the embroidery machine that we own, and then just go. And so we did that for some presents for Christmas, some monogrammed towels, and so that went really well. But the eyes actually have to be like custom programmed, and like the stitches, almost like if you're familiar with like 3D printing, they sort of have to have the same programming. Like you have to lay them down. So Um, basically, you take images. We've been taking images of the character and then using the eyes, and so they have to be like trial and errored, and produced. And so we just haven't really worked on that part. But so she's short some eyes, but other than that, pretty cool. And then so yeah, there's the collection so far. These two dolls are from the same pattern. They're both from the Danielle pattern from Carmen Rent. And so they've obviously got different modifications. I used red yarn here up until the thigh part. They all have the same ears because I used the ears out of the Carmen Rent pattern. But you can tell like this doll and this doll are slightly different height, and that's partly because there's wire in here, sort of giving this doll an exoskeleton, and the doll is stretched, or not an exoskeleton, an internal skeleton. So if I like stretch this doll where it would be with some wire, it gets sort of the same height. And then this doll that I just finished, despite looking very similar, is a pattern from Carla Viglucci, and it's her Elin pattern. This pattern comes with a lot of clothing options, and is done in one piece. This pattern is done in multiple pieces and has like a instructions on how to do a fabric outfit. So the outfits on those dolls are freehand. And so it's just kind of, I really liked both patterns. If I was going to do one again, I probably would go with the Carla Viglucci one because it's the one piece. And I liked not having to sew things on. But I really do like the Carmen Rent patterns as well. There's a lot of different options in hair and clothing and stuff. So, and a handful of character options as well. So some Frozen inspired dolls and a couple other characters. She's got more on Etsy than she does on Ravelry, which drives me a little bit crazy because Etsy is terrible for pattern management. It's fine as a like storefront, but I want all of my patterns in like a library that's sortable and searchable, and Etsy is not good for that. So I prefer everything be available on Ravelry, and sometimes it's just not. So let's see. I skipped over Val saying hi, hello, and Copper Pot also saying hi, hello, and welcome. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Hopefully you're having a good start to your year. And for those just joining in, I was just showing some pattern or some projects that I've finished up. This doll in particular, I got done around Christmas, New Year's, kind of that week in between. And did some purple tips on the ends of the doll hair. And then I am working on a teddy bear, and so I showed that as well. And that's really all I've got to show tonight. I don't know if you guys have questions or want to share what you finished up or started on this year, or you know, hopefully got to take at least a day or two off in towards the end of the year and you know, get to crochet and relax and whatnot. So Jill said she likes the little details on the dolls. That's really the fun part of doing. Yep. Yeah, so this bow here. Yeah. Yeah, so this one, like I said, I've got her sort of tied. Well, actually, she might just be slid. Yeah, she's just slid. I can take her off of here. The bow, I did a color change. So, it's chain. I did the chain in the red. There's her hair picked up there. My husband's saying he likes the bow, with the detailing having the little white part in there because that's what the character has. But yeah, I did the chains in red, and then I switched colors and did a slip stitch row in white, switched back and did a couple more rows of red, did another slip stitch row in white, and then a final row in red. And so just kind of hid that little bit of white right in there, and it's just a little extra detail. The hair is not quite amazing. The yarn hair is, I like the yarn hair, but I tried to get this choppy look, and it's a little too choppy. But I think we'll calm down once I get the eyes in, and then I can sort of style it how I want it. This doll is not quite as stable as this doll. So this one has not finer wire, but it's not the paper wrapped wire. This is just the fabric wrapped wire, which is really like sewing thread wrapped wire. But this doll has a full skeleton inside of the paper wrapped wire. This doll just has the wire shoved up through the legs, and doesn't really have much of a spine. So that's kind of the difference here. This doll's wire goes all the way through here, and then it's twisted together up through her head. So it's a real pain to crochet the whole thing with the wire all the way through it, but it's worth it because you end up with a like stronger, more displayable doll. So Vel likes the white detailing in the ribbon as well. So but yeah, the amigurumi are really about doing sort of semi-tedious detailing. It's kind of fun to do. I don't have any real reason to make a collection of dolls, but they're just kind of fun to make. And I like making the little doll clothes and stuff. I would probably be the type of person who would like collect and dress up American Girl dolls. Just because they're cute and they've got like all sorts of weird little accessories. And so I kind of do the same with the dolls. It's just kind of fun to make the little doll clothes and see what I can do. So, but yeah, so, Jane likes the dolls as well. So I'm looking forward to the new doll stands coming in, because I'm hoping that they're a good match, and I'm hoping that some of them I can do a better like waist holding, because this one, I don't know, these stands. So stand heights are really difficult. Like, I don't know how tall this is right here. The problem is that they're sold by the height of the doll. You can, yeah. So the stand itself is 9 inches when fully collapsed. And then it can be, that's about the last place it's sturdy. It can be 14 inches. So it goes 9 to 14 inches. But the problem is that, like I said, they sell it by the height of the doll. So the intent here is that this is around the doll's waist. And so the doll's waist can be anywhere like in this height. But because the original dolls that I had made didn't have a skeleton, I bought them so that they were appropriately height. They were the appropriate height for their neck. So these are actually too tall for these dolls, technically. So the goal would be to put it around this doll's waist and then lower it. But it's a little high. You really want them like down here. and preferably hidden under their clothes. So, um, they're pretty easy to find, the ones that are like appropriate for American Girl dolls and appropriate for Barbies. And then the rest you're kind of on your own. Val likes the design, the big head and the thin limbs. I do too. I find it a little bit weird that their arms are so much thinner than their legs. And I'm getting better at like feet and stuff. This doll's feet are totally not the same size. I don't know if I changed hook sizes or what I did. And they're better hidden in the shoes, but they're really very much not the same size. So, you can see like they're pretty different in size. This one's a lot bigger. But oh well. Like I said, they're kind of hidden in the shoes. I did better at making the shoes the same size. I don't really know that I love these black boots, but it is what it is. I think I'm probably going to change this doll's clothes to something else. So, anyway. And yeah, they are super posable. I was actually balancing this doll. If you straighten her arms, and then I was like, she actually like hung from my laptop screen, like sitting like this. I was able to, like, her feet were sitting against the screen and her arms were over the top. And so it was pretty easy to just like flexible pose her anyway. But yeah, she can just sit and hang out. She's pretty posable. Jill said she had the same thing happen to a bunny she was making. The size difference was drastic between two parts of it. It happens. For me, mostly it happens when I forget what size hook I'm using. So if I thought I was using an F hook and then I pick up an E hook or I pick up a G hook and it's like a little bit off, but anyway, it happens. That's part of making homemade and handmade things. So, the funny thing is most people don't really notice or like care, I guess. They just don't think it looks bad. And I can pick out my flaws, but I've shown this doll to a lot of people. Not one person is like, "Hey, the feet are a little bit different size." Like they're either just polite about it, or they just don't really notice. Like it's not so bad. Even if you think it is pretty bad. So, yeah, I really, like I said, it's pretty miserable. I was gonna see if I had any of the floral wire. It's pretty miserable to crochet around the floral wire the whole way up this doll, especially because, like I said, it's one piece the whole way. And so you spend the whole time going around and like having to work around the wire. And it's, like I said, pretty miserable, but it's totally worth having the wire in there to give it structure and shapeability, and you can do whatever you want with it once the wire is in there. And the floral wire is pretty strong and bendy. I don't think it'll last forever, but it's pretty flexible and malleable for right now. So if you give it to a child, You might end up having to pull it out, and you can't really replace it so much, but you could probably feed in a different type of wire. Especially like these arms are not filled with anything. So if the wire did eventually break, um, you could probably just fish it out and replace it with a different wire. Um, like if the one through the neck or the spine broke, you probably a little bit stuck. But like I said, I was able to do wire through this doll after it was made. So, but they do have a tendency to poke out a bit here and there. So, I would not give this doll to a child. The wires don't stay contained. That's actually part of the reason I like the paper wrapped wire. It's smooth on the end, and it's in like a paper sleeve. And paper's not. It is paper, but it's not like a wire in a straw wrapper. You can't remove the paper. It's like glued on and like twisted on. Similar to like if you think of a garbage bag tie or a bread tie, like you can't remove the plastic. You probably can, but like it's stuck on there pretty good. But then just think of it, an eighth of an inch wide or something. It's, I think, 18 gauge wire. I'm surprised I don't have any because I bought a bunch of it. I don't know where I put it, but Val said she just noticed that the doll's hair matched mine. It does. I mean, she doesn't have as much color as I do, but the purple tips were fun and a little bit tedious. So, like what I was saying before, and if you joined recently, like what I did was I chained down and then changed colors and then crocheted back, and I was able to crochet over the ends, and so I didn't have to sew in any ends, which is the only reason this was doable, because it was otherwise pretty bad. All those color changes were rough. It was just a lot of hair, though, too. It would have just been long and tedious, even without the color changes, so. Excuse me. But it's really all I had to show tonight. I haven't done a whole lot of yarn shopping or anything. I've done a lot of yarn organizing. I bought some really nice gasketed boxes and have been working my entire yarn stash into those. And they're pretty awesome, and I'm looking forward to having the yarn really well protected. However, I've already run into a problem. So these gasketed boxes have latches in 6 spots all the way around. So there's one on each end and then 2 on each side. And in my old yarn boxes, I could take like the top box off and then like sneak into the third box by just lifting them up. And that is not an option anymore. So I actually have to get the box completely out and then open all the latches to get the yarn out. But I think it's fine. Might get a little annoying, but it's nice knowing that they're completely like watertight and pest tight and smell tight and everything. So it's all pretty well protected now. Nothing worse than finding a spider or something in a pile of yarn and be like, I can't even stick my hand in there anymore. So, not that was a regular thing. My stuff was in plastic containers, but the problem was they were stacked up and heavy, and the plastic lid started to like bend and warp. So I got much more rigid, rugged containers. And I'm pretty excited about those. So I've got 3 more that I just bought, and I need to get the last of the yarn in there. Yes, they would be puppy proof, though we have a dog, but she's not into my yarn. So she's a pretty weird dog, but she kind of does her own thing and usually stays out of my stuff. So, for the most part. Um so it's already been a pretty long week. That first week back from break is always kind of rough, and so I am worn out. I don't know what you guys have been working on, and or if you have yarn or crochet or project questions. Feel free to throw those in the chat, and I love to talk about those. Um, I'm still thinking about how we're going to maybe do a tutorial on project bags, and show you how I make those. Val's asking what kind. She's probably talking about dog. We have a Shiba Inu. We've had her for 8 years, I think. And she's 12, I think now. So we got her from a family who could no longer keep her, and so she's pretty odd little dog. Behaves, I guess, cat-like is probably the best descriptor of Shiba Inus. They she kind of just like hangs out, and like we're home and she's just wherever. She's not a real needy dog. So she does usually move to whatever room I'm in, but other than that, um she kind of hangs out and does her own thing. So um yeah. Stampin' Bandit says it's been a rough year and it's only the 7th. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's that's too bad. I guess my year hasn't started too bad. So, um, January's always rough though. Well, January and February seem like they take like 6 months, and then the rest of the year goes so quick. But usually about January 23rd, it feels like it's been about January 75th. So, um, yeah, I hope things smooth out and go a little bit easier for you. Uh, Val says she's working on a summer tank with sparkly yarn. That sounds nice. Um, Lion Brand has a yarn called Summer Nights that's kind of a sparkly yarn. It would be a very fine yarn though to make anything out of. I think it's either a lace weight or a fingering weight, so making a whole tank top out of it would take some time unless you held it multiple together. Uh, Excuse me, I keep yawning. Probably need to stream earlier, but I literally don't get home early enough to move it any earlier. I hate feeling like I'm falling asleep, but it's kind of one of those things. Like, it'd be nice if I could stream at 5 instead, but I guess it's dinner time for a lot of people. But it's more that I was still at work at 7, so. Stampin' Bandit says she's working on a baby star blanket that's crochet using Karen's Simply Soft Party teal and white. The white is Pound of Love. I've made one of those baby star blankets. It turned out really, really cute, and it was horrible to make. I think it was more of like a psychological torture type of thing. Because it starts out and it's a really easy little star to make, and as you get just a few rows in, because the points are so steep, it's so many stitches to the point, and then you have to work so many stitches back. And so it just feels it feels like it's getting worse and worse as you're working it, which I guess is true because it's getting bigger and bigger. But normally, when you work a blanket, it's either constant or like a lot of times I work corner to corner, and so it's worse in the middle, and then like gets faster at the end. And that blanket just felt like it took so long to grow it another row. And then the next row took even longer. And so I made a baby blanket, and the recipient absolutely loved it, and I'll probably never make another one again. But did turn out really well, and I like the pattern. But was brutal. I love the way Karen's Simply Soft Party looks. I don't care for working with it. That little like sliver of sparkle stuff tends to like bunch up, and then like it ends up like sliding down the yarn, and then you end up with like a chunk of sparkle. And maybe that's just the way I hold my yarn, and like it drags through my fingers, and I don't work with it well. But I've worked with it a couple of times. I made some really, really cute doll dresses for American Girl Bitty Babies that I really liked how they turned out. But I did not love working with Karen Simply Soft Party. I do really like Karen Simply Soft though. It's just a nice yarn to work with. It's so smooth and like slippery. Kind of fun. Let's see. Marquita said she's working on a beanie with yarn from the Yarn or Dye crew in a colorway sprinkles. It's really yummy yarn. I haven't heard of the Yarn or Dye crew, so I'll have to look them up. Oh, maybe that's the one that got mentioned in the past. Um, okay. Stampin' Bandit says that she's doing a quarter to corner large blanket graph gown that's probably going to take the entire year. Um, I've never actually done a graph gown. I've done corner to corners. And it seems kind of fun to like do the color changes and make the picture. I just haven't figured out what I am attached enough to make a whole picture of. Um, so they're fun. I just like I haven't found a thing I like enough to commit the time to. So, um, I have done some blankets where you make pictures with sort of like a filet crochet or filet, where you make the holes and like you draw a picture with holes. And so I've done ones that like make diamonds, and done some that make like flowers and stuff. I've seen a bunch though that are like cute little animals. In particular, I've seen one that's dinosaurs that I think is adorable. Um, just baby blankets where you like sort of make pictures with the holes. So they're kind of fun. But I have not done the Grafgan thing. Oh, it looks like Marquita found the Yarn or Die crew on Cratejoy. So I'll have to look into that. I think that's an alternate subscription service. Um, I've done Yarnbox, and then they went out of business. And I've done Lither Co. I've unboxed a lot of that on here. And I think I might suspend that for a little while and maybe look into something else just to see what else is out there. So, what's that? I have not. I just have to find the way to turn it off. I haven't logged back into my account. So, um, okay. Stampin' Man, it says that the Grafgan's an Ohio State University logo for a diehard fan who's a friend of hers. So that makes sense. And there are probably things that I would like uh to do a Grafgan out of. I just haven't really picked something. So I I don't know what I would do. Trying to think. Maybe a graphic of yarn. Like a ball of yarn. A hank swirled up. I pretty much handle yarn here, like at home, doing crochet, at work all day. It's kind of all I do. So, um, yeah. So, Sammy Bandit says that she's tempted to get back into Knit Crate um, and collect more than use their yarns. That's kind of how I end up using any sort of subscription service. I have a tendency to want all of a collection. I had a really bad habit of the first subscription box that I really got into was a nail polish company called Julep, and they did like you could get a 2-pack of nail polish per month, and then they had options for like upgrading it, and I always wanted like the whole collection just because I wanted the whole set. And it's kind of like any subscription service. I want like the set. I want all of them. And I think that's just how my brain kind of um wants the complete thing. And so stopping subscription services is really difficult. Because I think, well, if I got one more, then I would have more of the set, and it's eventually I just have to stop. So I'm much more of a collector than a user of a lot of those services. So yeah, Stamina Bandit says she has full set syndrome as well with art supplies. Yeah, it's really bad. Like even we watch like a group, and they've got like merchandise you can buy, and they released a whole set of one for every character like type merchandise, and I just want the whole set. Like I don't want to order just one. I want the whole set because I want to have the whole set. I have no use for it. And I'm not a fan of a bunch of the characters, but like it would be fine to order 6 out of the set of 26, but I want all of them. So it's kind of bad in a lot of ways. So but it is very what do I want to say, like satisfying to have a complete collection of something. So um yeah. I don't have a whole lot of other things to talk about. I was looking around to see if there was anything else that I was forgetting. Um, I know I want to work on putting together the video for, like I said, for the project bags. I think there are a couple stitch tutorials that some people had asked for a while back that I need to look back into. And then, um, really, if you guys have other suggestions or things you want to talk about, things you want to know more about, um, I'm open to ideas and topics for the live stream. I really haven't done a whole lot of yarn shopping. Um, I really enjoy doing unboxings and doing, any number of like, going to yarn shows and then showing you what I, have bought and brought back. But with things sort of still locked down a little bit, you can't. I don't even anticipate there will be that many yarn shows this year. Maybe there will be, but so really some topics in crochet. I want to get some ideas of what kinds of things I could do on a live stream that you guys would like to hear about. So I don't typically just sit and crochet, but maybe we'll do a couple of nights of just asking questions and answering, and maybe I'll just sit and crochet for a while. I know we've talked in the past about doing a crochet along. I'm really bad at keeping up with things like that, and so I really have to find a good project um, to do that I will stay on top of. Um, and I want to make sure that I can show like tutorial style, so I don't want to use somebody else's crochet along. That we all just work on together. Um, because I want to be able to very easily show what I'm doing, and not feel like I'm infringing on um, somebody else's patterns and copyrights and things like that. Stampa Bandit says she bought a couple of new books, Amigurumi and Amigurumi Pets. Looking forward to trying them out. I really ought to dig into some of the books that I bought. Amazon a while back ran a insane sale. Target had their buy two get one free books, and then Amazon did as well, but Amazon's prices are so much better than like list price that it really was kind of a insane deal to do buy two get one free. And then they didn't even do like the cheapest item free. They just did 33% off the order, which actually made it even better than buy two get one free would normally be, because if you buy two $12 books and a $10 book, you ended up with more off than $10. So, yeah, I've bought those crochet kits because of a particular character. I have a My Little Pony crochet kit that I think got damaged in the basement flood, but just because I like the My Little Ponies. I haven't made any of them. I just thought they were cute. So I wish you could buy those patterns / books without the yarn. I don't have a whole lot of use for just a tiny amount of acrylic yarn that I could just pull out of my own stuff. And I think they charge you a lot more to have like the hook and the yarn and all the little pieces parts in there. Where I wish you could just get the book or buy the patterns from Ravelry. I'm gonna pull this one out because I really want to make some of these little bitty amigurumi guys. So they have all these teeny tiny little animals. You can see there's the cover on this one. This is one of the ones that I got out of that buy two get one free. So maybe I'll make some little tiny animals to sit on my desk. In particular, this tiny penguin. Oh, this tiny penguin. It's pretty cute. So, yeah, that's a good idea. I should dig through some of my books and take a look and see some of the patterns that I have bought. For those of you who are not aware, if you own a book like this and you have a tendency to forget what patterns are in the book, you can actually find the book on Ravelry and then see all the patterns in the book, in most cases, and then add those patterns to your Ravelry library so that when you're looking through for a project, and maybe it's not as relevant to tiny amigurumi creatures, but let's see. Like, for example, if you were looking for a shawl pattern and you're like, I don't know, I have this shawl pattern that I paid for, but you probably wouldn't remember that you have this very nice shawl pattern, and this is a little bit more than a shawl, it's sort of a wrap. But you can go in and you can add patterns from books. You can actually add the whole book and all of its pattern to your Ravelry library. So that way, when you're searching around for a pattern, and if you use Ravelry the same way I do, I kind of will go through my library and see what's in there that I've thought about working on. And so, yeah, if you go find, all you have to do is in the Ravelry search, type the name of the book, and then when it drops down, it'll say like patterns, projects, yarns. One of them is called sources. Books are listed under sources. And so most crochet magazines, most crochet books, and knitting are all in there as sources. And then once you go to the sources, there will be a little tab up at the top that says projects or patterns. I don't remember which it says, but you click that and then it'll show you all of the patterns in that source. It is also a really good way. Say, for example, you're considering buying a book from Ravel or from like Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whoever you buy books from. Say you are considering buying a book, but you're not totally sure what all is in there. You can go to Ravelry and look at all the patterns. And then from the patterns, you can even click on people's projects and look through those and see, like, there's been a bunch of books that I've opted not to buy because the cover picture was really cool, but the rest of the patterns were like, I don't know, like, I'm probably never going to make that. So, that's also a sort of a way that I shop. So if you come across a sale like a buy two get one free on Amazon, and you decide that you're thinking about getting a particular book, then you can go through and look. Copperpot asked if I could do more tutorials on Ravelry. I certainly can. I've done a few in the past, and so if you look around a little bit on my YouTube page, do we have a playlist of Ravelry tutorials?
Several of them are part of live shows.
Okay. You can't make a playlist out of live shows?
You can.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we don't have a playlist of Ravelry tutorials, but there are several of the live shows that sort of focused the chunk of the time on Ravelry. So some of those tips will be in there, and some of them I might have just said for the first time. So, but yeah, there are a lot of cool ways you can use Ravelry and a lot of ways that I don't think people realize. And so maybe we'll do another round of Ravelry question and answers, and explore around a little bit and just show you some of the features that I use. There are a lot of features I skip over as well. For example, there's a thing you can track using, like, to find out which hooks you have, which was super helpful when I just started out and I had only bought a couple of crochet hooks. And then when I was at, Michael's buying yarn and it said, oh, use a G hook, I could look on my phone and say, oh, I have a G hook. Good, I can use this yarn. That quickly became irrelevant. Now I have every hook many times over. And so that feature doesn't do much for me. But it might be a feature that's relevant, or sometimes you can track like a special type of hook. So you probably know that you own one of every hook in aluminum, but maybe you're starting to track which ones you bought from Furls, maybe. Like if you've been buying their Odyssey hooks or something, like you could use it to track that. You could also use it to track yarn, like your actual yarn stash. And unless you have a stash like mine, then it's pretty impossible. But you can use it to track your entire yarn stash. You could use it to track the nice yarns if you've got just a small pile of fancy yarns that you want to save for a rainy day. You can use it to track all sorts of things like that. So, and then of course projects and finished projects and patterns that you own and patterns that you want to own, and all of that. So it's a pretty cool resource. If you really are only using it to find patterns, you're probably missing out on a lot of cool features to keep track of your stuff. So um Stampa Bandit says she has Clover Amour hooks and then Nitpicks Radiant in both regular and Tunisian. I have Clover Amours in every size, certainly in duplicate, possibly in triplicate. Um, and then I have the Clover Amour, both the heavy hooks and the steel hooks. I have one of all of those. Um, and then I have um what was I gonna say? The Tunisian hooks from Nitpicks as well. I don't have a full set of Tunisian hooks. I don't really like the Tunisian hooks from Nitpicks because they're inline throats. Um, and I would prefer tapered, but I really like the ends of the Tunisian hooks. I like the basically the same thing that you would use for knitting circular needles. They have for the Tunisian hooks, and I think they're actually interchangeable on the Nitpicks hooks. And so I want to like them, and I just don't. I also wish they were metal. I don't know why I can't just get metal hooks in everything. I don't want wood hooks. I don't want plastic hooks most of the time. I just want aluminum hooks. And I don't know. The wood are really, really pretty, and I just want metal hooks that are slippery and inline throats. And so I have not found a really nice set of Tunisian hooks with metal throats or metal construction, and the really nice sort of. I'm drawing a blank as to the cables. Thank you. A nice set of cable ends. So the Nitpicks are definitely the best option out there, in my opinion, for like the cables and the set. But I do wish they were metal, and I wish they were inline or tapered. So what I mean by that, I could show real quick. Maybe. There they are. Oh, there goes all my ribbon. I have a bunch of ribbons stacked up that hasn't made it into the ribbon box. These are my Nitpicks. So these hooks, really pretty, like blue and green wooden hooks. I'm gonna switch so you can see. This is a 10mm hook. You need me to move? Switch camera so you guys can see the hooks for those of you who don't have them. Maybe. There we go. So there's the Nitpicks Tunisian hooks. And like I said, they have the inline throat rather than the tapered throat. But they do have this nice end. And then you get... So this has a knitting needle on it right now. Though a single knitting needle. I don't know what I was doing. So basically, you just screw the cable on to the hook. And then they come with these little sort of... People call them keys. They're not really keys so much as a stick that fits in the hole. Why can I not figure out how to open this? Oh, there it is. So you basically take this little stick of metal and you put it in this hole. And should be able to tighten it like that. There it is. Okay. Yeah. So you just turn it. And now it's on there pretty securely. And so there's the whole like stick and everything. We switch back. So then you can shove your whole Tunisian project down as you're going. This would be for like a whole blanket, not just, a little scarf or something. So, I've got a few sizes of these hooks. I've got a couple that are way too small to do any Tunisian. 6, 6.5, 9, and 10. So I'm missing quite a few. But that's what the Knit Picks hooks look like. And then, like I said, they're interchangeable with the knitting needles if you also knit. So I have a US 6 set of knitting needles. But these come in metal, which is maybe more frustrating. They also come in the same wood, but you can get these in metal, but you can't get the crochet hooks in metal. So, anyway, the Knit Pick stuff seems pretty nice, but I would make some modifications if I could. And then I have any number of other hooks hanging out here. These are pretty hooks that I got from Hobby Lobby, I think. They are plastic hooks, but they've got these really nice little flowers on the side. They're kind of nice, fat, like, sort of toothbrush-sized hooks. Like, they've got a pretty meaty handle to them. And then they are, tapered throat. They're pretty nice. They're actually pretty nice for plastic hooks. They're pretty strong, and they're not staticky. Then I also have these light-up crochet hooks. And then these, which are boy ergonomic hooks. Which have a really nice end to them. But this metal part is terrible. They're just nothing like the clover hooks. But I really do like the handles on these. I've actually considered pulling a set of the clover hooks out of their sleeves, because you can like squeeze and slide these down and eventually work the covers off of the crochet hooks. And you can do the same on the clover hooks. The clovers do have like a little flat spot right about here. But anyway, you can work the sleeves off of them. They're harder to work back on, though. And then I was thinking about, like, just basically trading clothes on them. Trading sleeves. But it seems like a lot of work. Like, 1 would probably be fine. And then 3 is probably going to drive me crazy. So, Val said those are her faves. I'm not sure whether she's talking about the boy ones or the light up ones or the ones from Hobby Lobby. But one of those are her favorites. My favorites are still, and I'm pretty sure will always be, the Clover Amours. So, I've never found anything that rivals them. I've heard really, really good things about the tulip hooks, or I had heard. And they're fine, but they're not the clover hooks. They're still not anything as slippery and amazing as the clover hooks. Yeah, Stamp Bandit says that Lyther Co. uses the clover head, so there must be a way to get the head. I don't know how they do it. They may legitimately buy the hooks and cut the heads off. I'm not totally sure, but they do use clover crochet hooks as like the basis. Unless they have like a really good supplier that can get them just for a couple bucks a hook and then they just chop them. I really don't know how they do the clover heads. I'm sure it's not a partnership. I guess I shouldn't say I'm sure. I would guess it's probably not some sort of partnership with Clover. Um, but I could be wrong. I think it's just that they're purchasing them and then using them. But they are very, very nice. Both the clover hooks and the ones that Latherco makes with the clover hooks. There's just something about the metal. They're coated in some sort of anti-stick magic, which is probably just some sort of powder coating on aluminum. But it's really, really nice to work with. So, and it looks like the Hobby Lobby hooks with the flowers were the ones that Val was saying are her favorites. I just missed when the comment came in versus which hook I was talking about at that time. So, I think all that said, I'm gonna probably wrap up for the evening. I keep yawning, and so I probably ought to go to bed. But this has been fun, and I've missed talking with all of you guys with Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve falling back to back, and we ended up busy on both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. We weren't able to stream on either, so it's been a while since I talked to you all. And hopefully next week I'll come up with something a little bit more interesting. I probably will not get this teddy bear done by next week unless I spend a lot of time working on it this weekend. So I'll have to have something besides project updates to talk about. So maybe we'll do some Ravelry stuff. Maybe we'll talk about something else. But if you have ideas, feel free to send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. You can find me at Experiments in Crafting. And otherwise, you can always leave comments on the video if you think of something that you'd like to talk about or know a little bit more about. So, all of you have a great rest of your week and have a great night, and see you next week. Bye.